Welcome to Tami's Soul Speak, featuring animal intuitive and medium Tami Hendricks, offering insight, spirituality, transformation, and clarity to every soul. Now, here's Tami.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm so happy you can be here. As always, I was thinking before the show, it's like a gathering of friends and human and animal coming into the room around a table. We're all talking, we're picking up where we left off. And if you are new to the show, welcome, welcome. The conversation has already started. So whether you've been here before or you're just sliding into home plate, coming in, it's all good. We already know each other through the animals and through our energy. So I really want to thank you. It's a sacred bubble we create, and a resonance that we create, which is so beautiful. I see you're coming into the room. Oh, hi. Hi, Kate Marie. It's so good for you to be here. Hey, Greg. I miss you. You'll have to email me and give me a heads up on what's going on. Hey, Stacy and Lori. Oh, wonderful. And Claire, good afternoon. Hope the weather is good your way. It's beautiful here in Asheville, North Carolina. Hi, Noelle. Oh, I love that you're all coming in because the energy just builds around each show. And so I'm usually making detailed kind of different notes. And actually, on the show part, the animals told me this morning, you might want to consider not always calling it a show, but calling it a heart broadcast. And I really like that because I think that's what we do, and that's how we roll here, and that's actually what we're doing in our own lives and in the world. So, you know, it's going to be like welcome to the heart broadcast. Um, and more people are coming in. Oh, hi Dee, I'm so glad. Oh, I don't know why I'm cutting out. I'm sorry. Maybe not a good internet connection. Um, and Kat, oh, oh, Kate, that's you. Tig says hi. Oh, wonderful. Um, hello from Asheville too. Yes, definitely. And Susie Wright, good to have you here. Hey, Chrissy. Hope Kirby Douglas is doing well. And then Margaret, good to see you. First time, very interesting. Oh, wonderful. I can't tell you how excited I am about this because it's just been a continued chatter. So I'm going to be glad to hit the ground running. So if you're ready, oh, hey Barb, Canada, yay, hello to you. Um, so before we get good and started, I wanted to go over what the supplies for today would be. So basically, I'm finding with every show, the animals, I'm getting downloads on different things to do. We could call them exercises, but it's actually for me really an invitation. Um, you're being invited to kind of look a little deeper. Um, so the supplies you'll need for today would be pen, paper, and of course, we always have to have our hankies. And it may be a little bit more of a 3.5 show. I'm not sure. As it fell together, I was like, oops, I probably need to tell them to bring the box of Kleenex. But, when I was teaching English and I would teach 14-year-olds, the ninth graders, I would teach literature and be telling these stories, or we'd be getting ready to read a story. And they would, be like, oh, okay, we're going to do the story. And I'd say, it's going to be a story tomorrow that you're going to need to bring your box of Kleenex. And they'd be like, oh, Miss Hendricks, no, you're just kidding. And then when I would always have Kleenexes in there because I knew for a particular story, there was one called The Scarlet Ibis that it would get you every time. It's just a beautiful, beautiful short story. So I figure we better all bring our hankies today and every day. So hang on a minute. Let me see if I can't get your comments. I don't want to miss any comments. So I wanted to go over the idea of soul blueprints, soul contracts, and soul paths because they're all interconnected, and it's really helpful, I think, when we kind of lay it out like that. to see all the pieces of it. Oh, hi, Jody and Marge. Oh, hey, is it Ray? Yes. Everyone from Vancouver. Wow. Thank you for coming in. Um, so blueprints. So we all have a blueprint, and the blueprint would be the layout of your life from start to finish, kind of the overarching plan. Like if you would go into the uh, archive, so to speak, I would think they'd say like the Akashic records in the library where you pull your information. You'd be able to see what your plan was, what was the blueprint, and did you hit all the points of that blueprint or did you veer off? Um, James Van Prague tells a wonderful story in one of his workshops. It's an exercise on, you're on a journey, you're going to a certain place, and along the way you bump into things. And what happens along the way? You just answer. You meet people when you're walking, and you see people at a picnic and a party. What do you do? And it's interesting what people actually write with that one because they'll say things like. Um, I walked right on by because I had to get to my destination. And other people would be like, oh man, I stopped to say hello. I ate with them and I drank. And it was interesting when we'd go through that whole exercise. And James would always be like, yeah, you got distracted and you went off your path. So I think this whole blueprint is something that is, it's good to be thinking about while we're here. Not only, thinking, oh, well, I'll look at that later when I pass. So it's map of life. It's kind of a universal puzzle. The puzzle pieces fall into place as we complete each one. The puzzle pieces being the soul contracts and the soul paths. So you've got the overarching blueprint, soul contracts. They're agreements made between souls before incarnating. It's sort of like a handshake and you know, a kind of fist bump kind of thing. There are unlimited soul contracts because think about your life as you go through and you're meeting so many people, even if it's the cash register person, like the Course in Miracles, every encounter is a holy encounter. And so we all have opportunities as multiple opportunities in each moment of our lives. And so let me find it, what I want to share with you. The book, I don't know if any of you are familiar. It's been out a while, but it's by Neil Donald Walsh. It's a really sweet children's book. It's The Little Soul in the Sun. And I'll just read you the back of it because that's kind of the idea for the soul contracts. And last time we had this, I talked about Dr. Sue Morter and the bus stop conversation. So it says on the back of this, once upon a time, there was a little soul, and this little soul knew itself to be the light, part of the cajillion lights that make up the whole of the universe. But the little soul wanted to experience itself as the light. And God said that if the little soul wanted to know the light, it must also know the darkness. For how else can one know up without down, hot without cold, fast without slow? Then the little soul understood that in getting to know who it really is, it would have to know the opposite. This is a great gift, God said, because without it, you could not know what anything is like. So the little soul embarked upon an adventure, and perhaps it is very much like the adventure we all share on this planet Earth. It's a sweet, sweet little book if you get a chance to take a look at it, because it really illustrates what we gift each other with, and it may not seem like a gift at the time, but it definitely, when you look back and you've got you know an overarching kind of understanding, you then understand that we're always being given the opportunity for growth, whether with humans, animals, world events, whatever is going on. So you got the soul contracts. It's the handshake, and then the soul paths. They unfold within a lifetime, individual themes, lessons, patterns we're working on, and once you complete one soul path, the next one rolls over, and they also can go on concurrently. They go on many different themes within one experience, as we'll see later. They evolve and transmute, and they're constantly interacting and helping things come up because of the interaction. So they're not separate. So what I was given the image of um, with the soul pass is I saw energy and it was like waving and going into each other and like that, and then creating new colors and creating new flavors. So soul paths morph into each other and create new paths all the time, infinite numbers. The flavor of each soul path differs with each individual. Same thing for animals, no different. We're all in this together. So, what's the difference then, you say, between a soul contract and a soul path? Contract, as I said, like the handshake or the fist bump with another soul before incarnation. We agree to offer each other these experiences with a wide range of flavors. It's like a promise we give to each other. The soul path is boots on the ground. A soul path is where you get to experience, actually direct experience the themes, the lessons, the patterns. There are steps in this lifetime. The steps create the path, and the steps allow the path to be revealed at the same time. So, soul contracts and soul paths are intricately connected. You can't have one without the other, and they actually activate each other. Um, so again, why is it important to be talking about this? The animals have always really, I've learned from them actually, and what all the different ones and how they've shown me, and um, you know, when I said what are the top 10 soul paths, that's really what are the ones that I've seen or that get seen that we would all recognize and we'd like, oh yeah, that. So one would be like the soul path of mothering that we've talked about. Molly was definitely that. I've had several like mothers with puppies, but also mothers that didn't have puppies and they were still mothering everything and everybody. So there's mothering, the soul path of father, because think about we've got Father's Day coming up, and that's a huge, huge theme in itself. And if you think about any animals that might display fatherly qualities, what we would say would be fatherly, then that's part of their path. My dog, years ago, we had a golden named Frisky, and he was just amazing. He was definitely a master teacher, but he definitely exuded kind of a fatherly stability, a real grounded sense of himself that anybody in his area would just we'd feel so much better. He was so giving. There's soul path of friendship, there's a soul path of joy, soul path of protecting, soul path of healing, which we'll talk about today. That's actually one of the biggest, and we all can relate to that, and we're all kind of experiencing that in the world and in our lives. I mean, it's a constant going on. Soul path of vulnerability, soul path of trust and forgiveness, soul path of independence, soul path of master teacher. That's just 10. I could go on because there's also the soul path of loss, the soul path of creativity. I mean, it's really interesting when you start thinking about this. And so, you might ask, why is it important that I even know it? I feel like it's important, and what the animals have shown me is, if we are looking deeper into our own lives and that of our animals, then during this life, then we can fully take advantage and appreciate the gifts that are being offered in each moment. So I'm always willing to learn in each moment because moments matter. And it doesn't escape me when we miss windows and we miss opportunities. And so don't miss the treasures that you're being offered as you live. So it creates kind of a spontaneous harmony with life and being in sync with the steps we take on our path. Um, I really feel like it levels the playing field between understanding this, it levels the playing field between animals and humans because it's like, oh, we're learning the same thing. I had a wonderful session with somebody that whose dog had passed, and one of the things she told me was that this dog had to heal because she had been abused and she had been in a really bad situation. She actually found her in a gully. One of her dogs led her straight to this beautiful soul. I want to say her name was Molly, but she watched her as she worked on her own healing, and then it dawned on her at the time that she was going through quite a bit of transition personally. if she can do it, and this is how Molly's doing it, I can do that too, and we can heal together. So it's always concurrent with whatever is going on in your life, whether the people that you're surrounded by, we're constantly mirroring each other. So, as you know, I'm a storyteller and I love to share stories. I love to hear them. It was one of my favorite parts in teaching is just because our lives are stories. And so I've had the privilege of being part of many, many animal stories. And so I want to tell you one right now. And it's what I've alluded to in some of, if you saw the video I made and you saw some pictures and me kind of giving a kind of a heads up, a preview of what the show would center around. It would be the Charlotte's Web puppies. I haven't written this up yet, so I will tell this just as I have had experienced it. And so, as Renee gets the image ready, back in the day, that's Ellie, the mom, and Charlotte, and you see some smaller images. So be looking at those as I tell this story. So I got a call from a friend, and she said, "Would you accompany me to a farm? Somebody's got a beagle." And so I was like, "Sure, I'll go." Where we found this beagle, she was in a pig pen. She was wet, she was muddy, and she was in a pen with a pig. And so, I went to we went to the front door and said, we got a call. What's happened?" And he was like, "She just showed up, and I stuck her in the pen." He really didn't have any. I don't know, and he was. I think she was discardable. It just wasn't a big deal. So anyway, we ended up taking her, and I took her. I had some room then, and I have had some time to be able to help her. Turns out she was pregnant. She was huge for a beagle, just huge. And that was my first foray into uh, mothers and puppies. And she was gonna. Yeah, I would learn a lot from Ellie. So she actually had her litter. I want to say I had about 2 weeks before she had her litter, and in that time, I'm interviewing people like, "How do you handle the puppies? What do you do? How do you set?" So I'm on it. And once she had her puppy, she had 9 puppies, which is a lot for a beagle. And they were healthy. All 9 survived. All 9 were healthy and beautiful. And that's the little photo to the right. They're all like in a puppy pile together. And I had them 8 or 9 weeks, and it was such a beautiful thing to watch. It was a lot of work, trust me. But I'm like, tell me what you need me to do, Ellie, and I'll be glad to do it. So at about 3 weeks, I'll tell you like a little part of this. This is how I came to learn things. So about 3 weeks old, I went to check on the puppies, as I've checked on them many, many times. And Ellie was on, I had a little ottoman in there, and she was on the ottoman, and the puppies were screaming. And I'm like, the puppies are hungry. You get back down there. And so I put her, she just looked at me like not happening. So I put her down there, and the puppies were like, "Mom." So they're all after her. And she literally just hops back up. And she did this 3 times. And I said, "No, you get right back down there. That's what you do. You're supposed to feed them. Remember, this is it." And finally, it kind of dawned on me. Maybe I was a little slow to get it, but it dawned on me. Oh my gosh, you mean? And I looked at her. So you mean I have to it's like I'm feeding them now? Um, so that's how that rolled. It was so funny because I had to move into, and into that soon, and I had studied about it, but it's a real deal at this point with all the puppies. So as the puppies grew, they were gorgeous. Had shiny coats. They were just precious, and we named them after the Charlotte's Web character. There was Wilbur, all the different ones, Charlotte, and so I want to say when we took pictures of them, I put them in little tykes cars. I don't know if you know those little kids, little tykes. So I'd put each one of them in and take photos. And then it was amazing to me and a great teaching for life in that the very right people who were interested and were the match actually stepped forward for all these animals. And so we would have people come and meet them, and they all went out to like amazing homes, and just, I was just in awe of how that process worked. And I could feel that each one went to the right place. So it was about 2 weeks after, and Charlotte, actually, the one in the picture with Ellie, didn't get adopted, and she was I guess, what I have found in my life is that one puppy usually stays with the mom, and for whatever reason, that's what it was. It was Charlotte. So I ended up keeping Charlotte, and she hung out with her mom. And so all the puppies went out into their world. Things were great. I felt really good about it. And then I started getting calls. Things started happening with these puppies. And I couldn't figure out like what in the world had happened because, for instance, um, they would have a lot of accidents. They would bump into things and they'd start bleeding. They had, I think, one puppy fell and hurt his head. I mean, it was just, I couldn't, like, what is going on with these puppies? And so Wilbur went to a family, and that little at the very right at the bottom, that's Wilbur. Wilbur went to a family, a husband, wife, an older golden retriever, and two young children, and they really, really loved Wilbur. In fact, somebody else wanted Wilbur, and then as destiny has it, we all get matched up. There's no coincidences, and she ended up taking another puppy. This Wilbur went to this family, so they really loved him. And then they started calling me saying, "What is going on with this puppy?" And I said, "Well, tell me what's happening." And Wilbur would like bump into things and start bleeding. He'd have lots of emergency room visits. Lots of different things happen. Another puppy passed, and it was just bizarre. And so they did some testing on the puppies, and the test came back that this was a group that had hemophilia, hence the bleeding, hence the hematomas, hence the issues. And so this particular family that Wilbur went to, the mother couldn't stand the sight of blood. That was one of her things, but that didn't come up until, of course, the puppy comes and that starts happening. So there's a lot of, I'd say these puppies were also catalysts to bring up things in marriages, to bring up things that needed to be looked at, things that uh, challenges that people hadn't worked with. So there was a lot of back and forth. I would talk to the wife, the husband. The husband especially loved Wilbur to pieces, and they finally got to a point where they couldn't keep him because of so much emergency fees and emergency room visits. They ended up, asking me if I would take Wilbur back, and I said, "Yes, let me have Wilbur." And by then I knew that the males, from what I understand, the males are actually the manifestors, but the females don't. They're like the carriers, but they don't manifest it. So I was really worried and checking on everybody, and I felt like I needed to tell who had ever adopted that this is what's going on. So little Wilbur came back to me, and he was absolutely precious. Just just so sweet. And if you look at the photo with the two of them at the fence, that's Wilbur and that's Charlotte. And when I dug into the photo archives, I was like, "What in the world?" And I realized I don't think I knew it at the time how much they looked alike. They looked like mirror images of each other. So he would come and play, but I had to be real careful with him because of the hemophilia, and had to make sure he didn't get too active. Um, and so it was a week that went by, and Wilbur got really, really sick, but he had a really good week. And he declined very quickly once he started, and he ended up passing in my arms from that disease. But that week he was with me, and he was only 4 months old. So he was little. That week he was with me, there was so much love and so much. He was so happy, and he played with so many toys. And I feel like in the family he had been in, while they cared deeply for him, they also there was a lot of arguing that went on because of this. There was a lot of things came up in that marriage. And so, I tell you this story because it's just this was a teaching group, every single one of them. um, were teachers. And there is still one male. Charlotte passed last November. There are still one male that I check on, and he's fine. He never displayed anything. And, you know, he's older now. So I'm so grateful because the family that he went to, that was one of the ones that the puppies that had passed. And what I couldn't figure out what the circumstances were. And they wanted the other puppy that was available. And I was sort of concerned that if one puppy had passed with him, how am I going to, how do I hand this other puppy when I don't really know what happened? So, it was interesting that they were determined they wanted to adopt this puppy and still have him to this day. This was a teaching group. This was a healing group. This was not only did they need healing, but they healed. So it was through their poignant lives that brought transformation and healing to the people they were with. We often ask for healing, but healing can be like fierce grace. Healing can come in many, many forms, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And it was through the challenges that they brought that invoked people to look deeper. So their lives, though many of them, were short, they were very impactful. It was a very impactful group. And I just had to sit back and, um, just be a support and watch and do the best thing I knew, because I knew when they were with me, they were these little perfect cherubs with shiny coats and bouncy little babies. And then they went out in the world and to do their work. So, it's hard when we look at shortened lives, but I think it's really important to look at what the quality of those lives were. What gifts did they leave? When we bump up into circumstances and experience that causes heartache or distress, we can focus on the event, that's whatever we determine by the words, or we can focus on, like, looking into the event and looking into what really happened. Um, was I sad when he passed? Absolutely. It was heartbreaking. He was so sweet, and it didn't make sense. Just like when we bump into things that have happened in our lives and it just doesn't make sense to us. So with that, I want to share, and then I want to take you into an exercise, which I would really call an invitation, my exercises. So I want to tell you about, I would call it the Blue Jay story. And this story is from my friend Janet. This is a recent story, and let me give you some, context to it while Renee gets that slide up for us. So she had some mourning doves come to her trees, and she, watched them. She communicated. They were so beautiful, so gentle, and she really took notice of them, and they took notice of her. And, anytime we put on our attention on something, it blossoms and grows. So there was this wonderful relationship and friendship that actually developed between them. And each day, Janet would check on them, would talk to them. She called them Mr. and Mrs. Lovey Dovey. And so she would actually started, kind of chronicling their movements. And she would tell us all, this is what's happening today. So I'll read to you this other piece about the doves. She said, I didn't post for day 7 because it was basically the same situation, but a different day. And this morning, around 7:15, I saw Mrs. L. Dovey in her nest and said good morning to her. I was still tired and went back to bed. 2 hours later, the attack happened. In and out of sleep, I could hear blue jays on that side of the house, but it sounded like nothing out of the norm. Going into the kitchen and looking out the window to see Mrs. L. Dovey had become a joyful habit in just 1 week's time. Late morning, the joy became concern as I looked out the window and I didn't see her in her nest. I thought they didn't leave the nest unattended. Maybe she was close by getting something to eat, I thought. I wanted to believe this thought. I couldn't help myself, so I had to go investigate. I found many feathers on the ground, and after a careful search, I found her precious egg on the ground below the nest broken. My heart also broke in that moment. Tears began flowing, many tears. Seeing the now empty nest from my kitchen window brings more tears in my heartache as I write this, and I couldn't fix this for them, and it hurts. So she went out. She tried to figure out what happened, and she decided to check the playback video. And what she saw was devastating. This Mrs. LW was apparently tag teamed by Blue Jays and was able to hold her ground at first, but then they overpowered her by making several strikes within a 5-minute time frame, and they pushed her out of the nest a couple of times. She kept making her way back, trying to get back to her nest. She then left for good when all hope was gone. Her egg. Janet says, I felt helpless, mad, sad, but I had to do something. I burned sage, said a prayer, covered up the egg with dried branches and leaves. This is the thing I think is really poignant. And as I read this, I get chills. To anyone else, maybe this was just a random neighborhood bird laying an egg in a tree. Happens twice a year. They lose eggs and babies all the time. Big deal. Life goes on. To me, however, this was a soul that I had made eye contact with and talked for 8 days. A relationship being built, a friendship. The location of the nest showed me that LWs trusted me with their family. It was a sacred experience, and I was honored. I still hear what I think is the call of LW couple a few times a day since their devastating loss, and their name mourning doves is quite literal right now. I'm also hearing the squawk of blue jays, and it angers me. It will take a while before I feel any warmth in my heart for them again. I am sure of that. I share this story to you because not only do we experience losses, but as we've all talked about, animals do too. And in this particular case, this she had Janet had honored them. She created a sacred bubble for them. And so what I'd love for you to do, just if you have heard this story, what themes do you see in the story that are popping up? Like motherhood, that's one. What else do you see? As I'm thinking into it, because I want us to go kind of look deep into the story, like look like we're in a helicopter and we're looking down on the story. What kind of things come up with you? Not only in regard to the doves, but with Janet as well, because with the soul path, a lot of that's coming forward in this moment story that I just told you. Protection, Kat says. Claire, vulnerability. Leslie, the law of nature. True, unfolding. Um, um, Patience. Yeah, interesting. I mean, nurturing, Diana says. Love of a mother for her child, Marge Webb says. Yes. Desperation, Kat. Lisa, life is short. It is, Lisa. It is. And that's why moments matter. Patty, circle of life. You certainly saw that yesterday. Patty had a heartbreaking loss herself of a sweet, sweet little mini horse. Adeline, let's see, loss. Um, yeah, no, you see, the themes are all in the stories. What about compassion? Um, Connection? Sorrow? Absolutely. Caretaker? And if you think about it with Janet and the birds, these we're jumping, what we're doing is we're jumping from Janet to the birds, birds to Janet. Do you see how they're paralleling each other? That's just that's just a situation that happened in a day, but it actually unfolded within a week's time or more. Cat witness, yes, she was a compassionate witness, absolutely. Um, and Deanna, forgiveness, yes, yes. If you were here for my Sasha story, that was something I had to work on too. Yes, Margaret, I agree totally. Life, protection, or unmanageable circumstances. Yeah, like bearing the unbearable kind of thing. That's what loss is. So you can see that these aren't just, oh, this happened, this is an event. These are actual pieces of our lives that are unfolding and giving us information within the framework of the situation. And that's why I've kind of deliberately waited until this part of the show to share this exercise slash invitation for you and with you. Because at this point in the show, as we've talked and you all are interacting and we've shared, I'm sharing with you, your hearts are open. They're already open. They're probably already open when you walk in the door actually for here. Um, and so before I get in, I've got a I think an exercise you're going to like. You can take it with you. You can use it in your own lives. You can help others with this. It's like all purpose as any kind of the exercises or the um, mm, invitations I'm given to share with you. But before I do that, I've had a couple of different people reach out. And first of all, I love to hear your feedback that you've done the exercise and this is what you have felt. And, it's great because it gives me a chance to explain why these are shared with you. So I've had people say, these are amazing. I really am enjoying it. I dove down and I saw that the very thing my dog had, impatience, is the very thing I had. Like, oops, awkward. So it causes us to be able to look deeper, and it helps us. It's just a tool. These are just tools. So there's no goal to them. So anytime I give you anything, it's always open ended. It's your individual experience, and you may. And I had somebody else email and just say, you know what, since I've started watching your shows, I've tried to engage in in exercises you recommended, and take your advice on connecting. And she said, but I've had many challenges with achieving success and wondered if it's due to any kind of a heart block or heart wall. And I'd love to connect more with skills. The thing about these are real life kind of just exercises that have come to me, that I've used myself, that the animals have taught me. And so there's no scorecard is what I'm trying to say. There's no scorecard. And if something doesn't come for you, maybe you didn't resonate with that particular exercise I was sharing. So I just don't want you to be hard on yourselves when it's really meant to just open the door to perception. That's all these are for. So I would call this, and this is where the pen and paper comes in handy. I would call this diving for hidden treasure. So, number one, I'll read it to you, and then Renee will hopefully get it up for us. There you go. Use your heart to think of one event, story, or experience that you had with an animal. Psst, this can be people too. It can be a current animal, an animal that has passed, or even one that wasn't yours, but you had an experience with, like Janet. Each time you do this exercise, there's specific energy that wants to step forward. So you're going to use your inner vision to notice whatever memory wants to come forward. That's number one. Number two, picture yourself hovering over that event. So you got it? See the beginning, see what's going on, the middle, and the end, as if you're taking it's like a movie picture, like you're seeing it happen. Like right now I'm hovering above when Katie came to me and when I found her in the brush, and I'm seeing me in the movie. I'm seeing my son, I'm seeing Katie. I'm feeling the feelings all at the same time while that memory's coming forward. And that particular one, obviously, because this isn't scripted, wanted to come forward for me to share with you. But see get the energy, feel the energy of that. And then number four would be, what do you see? Do you see characters? Like me, I saw myself, my son. Do you see motion or action? Let the feeling memories bubble up, like memory bubbles, float up in words. What words have number five? Well, I'm sorry. Like I said earlier, it's our attention on anything that brings it to life. So stay with each of these as long as you're feeling and writing down. And you know five would be, what words have appeared in this specific memory. For instance, my Katie episode, when I first met her, um, was surprise and joy and wonder and compassion, because she had mange, and I didn't know that then, but she was in bad shape. Just a little 3-month-old puppy stuck in the brush. Um, I felt connection. So that's what I mean. What words would reveal the essence, the themes, and the soul past represented here. The soul. As Katie and I had a soul contract, there's just no question, no question. And we walked the path together and we learned different things together. I think I've shared she's very independent. That's something I needed to really take a look at, and I really admired that in her. So in this memory that you're kind of looking onto, and you go, it's like you're diving in and you're coming out with insights. You dive in again, you come out with some more insights that want to be revealed, because when we look into something, that's when we really see and understand. So number 6 would be see how the words interface with life, yours and that of your animal. Just like I was sharing with you, it's the secret message written in every experience, whether it's a remarkable experience, whether it's a pleasant or an unpleasant experience, whether it's just you at the cash register and you observe something or you interact. Always try to take a deeper look, because you're always growing and there are always messages in each experience that will reveal soul paths, soul contracts, blueprints, connections. You don't have to wait to the end of your life to do this. And this is also really, I feel, and I think of my own children, a really good exercise for children to learn how to do, that you could help them navigate through this, especially if they've have something that's bothering them. So what words, if any, came as I was talking? Did any memories come? I'm curious. I didn't expect you to be able to go through the exercise in itself, but I'm wondering, as I was talking, did any memories pop up for anybody? Did any images? And if so, I'd love for you to share them, because I have a feeling that this exercise has activated a very, very important energy that is really important in our lives right now. Um, Susie says, I have been able, let's see, oh, thank you. I've been to figure out why a certain person in my life, looking everywhere for an answer, similar life experiences, abandonment. I would study that. I would like, Susie, I'd create kind of a journal section on that one, because what happens is we're so used to asking a question, in class. Let's think we're in class, where a question gets asked and we're supposed to get an immediate answer, have an answer. And I think we apply that to everything that we live our lives doing. And so what I have found is, when I look into an experience like this, actually the information wafts up in spurts and little bits. I may not be thinking about it, and all of a sudden an insight will come and it'll relate to that. So the very fact that you're putting your attention on it is opening up the space. So it's really not a figuring out. It's just an opening of this, and see what comes up, see what surfaces. And it may take, a little bit of time to do that. Um, let's see, passing of Guido, my golden words, love, sadness, deep connection. Okay, yes. Yes, definitely. That heart-centered, um he was, and you. So there was a very special connection. And it's interesting how we can retrieve those um so quickly. They're in our memory banks, they're in our hearts. Um Cat, I remembered getting, let's see, Cisco puppy, and the memories and words were of protection and opening my heart again after 20 years of keeping a heart wall. Um, wow. You know what? Animals truly have this secret key that they're able to open pieces of us that we didn't know were even locked. And that's part of their beautiful, offering to us. Um, Claire says, I very much at the time felt like I was remote viewing. And let's see, yes, Pika's last 4 days of life, she had horrendous seizures. Now I see both our bravery in dealing with it, trust, vulnerability. I see it for both of us. I just want to cry. That is so beautiful, because, um, you know, I there's so many emotions that come up with our animals, especially as they approach the end of life. And it's it's easy for us to label an event as, this is what happened, this is what it was, but it's in this diving that I want to encourage you to do, that you can see the gifts, you can see the courage it took to face that. Thank you for sharing that. I love that you can see it. Um, let's see, Jody, I feel guilt, sad, and felt so bad that I didn't know my dog had cancer. That's part of the path that a lot of us have been on where we didn't know. I have several stories that I could share that I felt like I should have caught it sooner. I should have this or that. And what I have found with my situations and with clients and with the animals, um, you can't see what's not ready to be seen. So if it's not visible and we keep trying to strain to see it, it only comes up when it's ready to be seen. Sometime I will tell you the story of a little beagle, another little beagle. And I kind of went through that myself. But the animals don't, if there is guilt and sadness, which is natural, just allow it to be there and know that you weren't meant to see until you could see, and that's true for all of us. Um, oh, some of you are writing, I would be lost without my Kirby Douglas. Aren't they the guides for us, and the those soul guides? Definitely the soul guides. Um, and Jody says, I feel like he hid it from me. Animals do that. I mean, in a way, I think if we look back, we can always see that we did notice things, but it wasn't, it's like a veil is there. It's like we couldn't see clearly until we can see clearly. So, um, just be easy on yourself from that. And know this, when you say, I feel like he hid it from me, know that he had a choice in this as well. We think we're the sole proprietorship of their lives. We're not. They have their own path, and they are in on a soul level and in moving through, um, as we are. So I appreciate, you saying that, because it allows me to share those pieces that we all can relate to. Um, thank you for coming in. Sometimes people are still popping in. Hey, Susie, so glad you could pop in. Um, but Jody, ease up on yourself, because it was a path the two of you walked together. Whatever that path looks like, it was a path that you walked with each other, and you had gifts that you learned from. So I have several people who have reached out with questions. I'd like to get to those. Several, just on the questions part, toward the end of the, like, when I'm trying to get this presentation ready, so you can share with me when I'm doing the comments and photos, is I'll I'll get to some of the ones that I can't get to today the next show, because the next show will be an interesting one as well. So Renee, if you could get that those slides of the questions up, we can all share in the learning of me tapping in and the animals tapping in to all of us. Um, yes, Dee says, I had no idea about the tumor that Sammy had. She was ready to go. She hated going to the vet, so she went, well, under her own circumstances. I'm telling you, they have choice. They have choice, even though it may not make any sense to us. Um, They always, Brenda, are okay. They actually are so relieved to be out of a body that isn't working for them, and so they pop out really easily, and their vibration gets super high, like, and we're not that high. It takes us a while because we miss them and we feel bad. Um, but I would trust that she's absolutely um, present, and I'm feeling very relieved she's out of that body. Um, so here we go. So I'll help you all can read with me, and I'll answer these. So basically, on this particular one, the Shih Tzu Miss Frizzle suffers from canine cognitive disorder, extreme fear of thunder. She decided to take Mr. Fritz to live with me and my husband, because couldn't stay with, I believe, her mom. We determined he suffered from fear aggression, and he bit my husband twice and attempted to bite me a couple of times. We tried to work around this issue, but finally had to euthanize him on 5/24, which broke my heart. I would like to know if he was able to reunite with his original birth fur mama. Also, I'd like to know why he was aggressive towards us when all we wanted to do was love and care for him. These dogs, from the rest of the email, actually came from really, really tough circumstances. And so, when for any of us, if we've endured trauma, it takes us a little bit to heal and unfold from that. And I feel like Mr. Fritz, um, it wasn't personal. The aggression, the biting wasn't personal at all, and he wants you to know that. He's sorry, actually, and he's relieved. I get a relief from him that he doesn't have to be in a body where his nervous system was fried. His nervous system was absolutely fried, and he says he's going to try again. He says, just meaning he's going to come back. Not necessarily, I don't know. I'm not asking him whether he's coming back to you or not, but he's saying he's coming back. Like he got what he was supposed to in this lifetime, and his interaction with you all was part of the last parts of this, and he is so appreciative that you cared for him and loved him when he didn't feel loved. That's the most important part. When they start saying that, it's just so poignant because we've seen how they struggled, and he doesn't struggle anymore. So I feel a tremendous amount of peace and just sort of an excitement on what's next. So nothing personal. He knows that you loved and cared for him, and he says he says he wasn't stable enough. So you actually did him a favor, he says, because he wasn't ever going to be. He said he couldn't control it. When the energy started, he couldn't control it. So I hope that helps Stacy on these. They're precious, and Miss Frizzle is precious. Hey, Kat. So I often wonder why Guppy is in my life, the way she has been having Ben's. Yeah, she was Ben's girl and my grand puppy when Ben himself is no longer physically within the world. I just love the universe's timing. Last night's dream was one of those, this isn't a dream, but I'm unable to interpret what Guppy is trying to tell me. I woke with a feeling of grief in my heart. It may be something as simple as my subconscious worrying about her while I'm in Canada visiting family, but it didn't feel that way. My initial thought or reaction was fear that Guppy had come to me to say goodbye, but that's what my head wants me to think. My heart vehemently disagrees with that idea. So Guppy's very, very powerful, as you know. And I met Guppy a few years ago on a webinar with James, actually. And so Guppy is an amazing teacher. She's incredibly gifted. She's human in dog body, very angel-like, and very able to communicate well. Kat, I don't feel that she's telling you, hey, gotta go. I'm wondering, you woke with it may be something as simple as my subconscious worrying about her. I think you do worry about her, and she's like, don't worry about me. I got this. And so there may be some of that you're right, that you have been kind of like, oh, I hope she's okay. I hope, she doesn't need me. So she's like, what? Nothing wrong with me. That's what I'm getting from her. She's very, you know how she is. She's always busy. She says, I'm busy. I don't have time to be sad. So keep me posted on any other things you might see or pick up with her, because I don't get that feeling at all. Hope that helps. Hey, Claire. I'm 100% sure there are master teachers. A question I asked myself was, what purpose did my girls, Pika and Bronny, come into my life to play, especially if we all pre-plan our lives before incarnating? Through working with yourself, I now know why they transitioned, but not their purpose with me to start. Oh my goodness, Claire. They both came as, that soul team, and very significant leaps spiritually in your life with them. They were and are your guides, and they continue to help you on your path of animal communication. Actually, they say they helped lay the groundwork for that. So, soul path wise, we're talking about a, very deep bond, very old souls you weren't just meeting for the first time. You've known Pika and Bronny before, and they've come in different forms in different ways. They say they travel with you throughout lifetimes. So gosh, all the soul paths for them, the purposes, teachers, guides, um, you know, healers, because you are too. You might want to make a list, and I would use these photos actually because the information's coming fast about all the different soul paths and how they may have mirrored yours. So hopefully that'll get you started. But they're quite amazing. They're on the job still, by the way. I can feel their energy super strong. Thank you for sharing that. And D, my sweet Sammy was a healer and guided me through a really dark period. I know now that she has continued to guide me through the rough times. I'm finally at a good place in my life, partner who loves me and my girls, Sammy and Molly, unconditionally, and have a wonderful place in the country that we all love. Molly also has awesome connection to Matt. I feel that Sammy knew we would be okay now. She has sent me many signs of her continued presence. Can you tell me if Molly understands everything and what her sole purpose is for us? I believe she is a teacher trying so very hard to see the other perspective every day. That's how well worded and wonderful sharing. Um, she definitely is continuing on with you. I get very much sister energy with her. Not only sister with, Molly, but also sister to you. She says, wanting me to say right by your side. So don't know if she's right by your side in life, but I know continuing she's right by your side. So these, the signs you've seen, I feel like she has the ability to let you actually feel her, touch her, like you feel like you've been touched, or she's putting a paw on you or laying against you, to let you know. And of course, you're so receptive that that's when they can actually come through in so many ways. And we're not always doubting, oh, it's just that. And I don't think it was anything. We don't discount things. Just be like, wow, I can't believe that came through. She's definitely, you know, gosh, she came to help you grow, she says, because you were in such transformation. And she says she was too. So she says you helped each other. I love that. We helped each other. Isn't that what we all do? So hopefully that helps. She's actually so incredible. What a heart there. And Tammy, Ozzy left 15 and a half years old. Oh, on left, 15 and a half years old, still living. Okay. Lola on the right, passed unexpectedly October 2021, age 9, broke my heart. They've taught me so much and have seen me through so many ups and downs. I'd like to know that Lola is at peace. Sometimes feel she was sitting with me as I see dragonflies frequently and they linger in front of me. Would like to know how I can help Ozzy in his senior years. Ozzy says he actually sees her, by the way. Whether he has cataracts or not, or can see very well, he says he knows she's there. Yeah, she definitely still on the job there. Um, I don't get the sense she feels like she says I can't leave my charge, meaning that she actually, I almost get the not Peter Pan. What is that? It's like a nanny kind of feel I'm getting from her. So she very much is very serious about her job. Um, and says she's going to, I think, work with you on knowing any kind of steps you need to take for Ozzy. Even with his multiple health issues, I think you'll get clear on some things about what to do to help. So stay tuned and ask her help. Actually, she can help you with that. Um, Also lost my cat Cleo shortly after I moved in 2020. She's gone through a couple of moves, and I had her for 18 years. The last move traumatized her, and I could not figure out what was wrong. Broke my heart to say goodbye, and I'm plagued with guilt. Oh my goodness. No guilt. It's okay. I felt it too. But what they've constantly reminded me is we had a choice as well. When it's a transition time, then we all go, we all move, we all get a chance. When anybody transitions or an animal transitions with us, we get to experience that with them as well. And so they don't ever want us to feel guilt because they always come on cue and they always leave on cue. Always remember that. And when they leave, Even though it is heartbreaking to say goodbye, take a look at what's going around in your own life and take a look at uh, um, how that plays into your own transitions, because it's never a coincidence at all. Um, and she said she was ready to go. She wasn't needed there, like she had completed her soul contract with you, and it wasn't something that anybody did wrong, is what she was saying. So hopefully that'll help. Thank you for sharing that. And then Madeline, this is Cuthbert. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Two in July, two in August. Eldest daughter and I were going to get a Jack Russell 2 years ago. She passed away from breast cancer in 2020. Went ahead and got a puppy as I thought he would be a comfort to her husband and teenage children. He's little, but he is so bonded to me. I'm the one he wants to be with 24/7. He says he's a little backpacker dog. I don't know if you take him hiking or take him places, but he gives me the sense that he's got a little backpack, or he's back on your backpack. That's so funny. My daughter and family had an old rescue Jack Russell Scrub that I had to have put to sleep at Christmas 6 months before my daughter died. Oh my goodness. They were on their last holiday abroad together. I would love to know the soul path. He's definitely, he came in, he says he came in to be a lot of different things for you, like your friend. Um, he came in as, he says, I'm little, but he says I'm pretty mighty. So I don't know if he says he's sparky, like he lifts your spirits. He he shows you things. So I'm almost like feeling he's like sniffing stuff out, or he's discovering things, and because he sees it, you can see it. Definitely a he says he sorry, he says he's has a soul path of an adventurer. That's another soul path. He says I'm an adventurer. So, and that helps you, because it helps you see things. He's taking credit for this, by the way, that you might miss otherwise. So he feels very like he needs to kind of lead you and guide you. Very, very connected to you. You two have known each other before. I feel very strongly. Um, Maybe one, I hope this helps. So maybe we have time for one more question, and then whatever ones I can't get to, I'll roll them over and do the best I can for next time. Um, so Darlene D or Di, we helped our pup Raider cross the Rainbow Bridge on April 22nd, 2022. Our hearts are broken, but would love to know that he is okay. Oh, what a little trooper and charmer. He says he was a charmer. Um, he also said he left around. I can't remember when Easter was, but he said he left on the almost on the wings of angels with Easter. There was Easter energy around him. Um, he's definitely okay. He's also wanting me to blurt out, I'm soft as a pillow. So I don't know if you laid on him, or if he laid on you, if he laid on pillows, but he says soft as a pillow. And he's like identifying himself as that kind of energy in your life, like soft as a pillow energy. Um, Really, really sweet. And he wants you to recognize and remember, like we were doing that exercise, that diving for gold. um, Dive for gold in him, because he says he had life adventures that he shared, or the experiences that he wants you to look at, and perhaps you could get photos of him, and that'll help jog your heart memory, um, so that that can come up to the surface. Precious. I just thank you for sharing. And the Rainbow Bridge is also something that I've been shown. It's not just one way. The Rainbow Bridge is not just one way. It's spirit souls coming into. It's like a freeway going back and forth. So, we always think of it. It's the bridge where they go, but it's also the bridge that they come here on. So that's what the animals have shown me several times. Um, so I appreciate you bringing that up. Well, I want to say I never can get to everything, but I'm so very appreciative that you guys joined me, that we've exchanged this kind of energy together. I'm really looking forward to every one we have. The next one is on June 22nd. I pretty sure, unless something changes with the animals, it's going to be on animals and reincarnation. That's the downloads that I've been getting with this upcoming. I'm starting to get them ahead of time, like pretty far ahead. And I will definitely hold on to the questions and get to them as best I can. It is such an honor that you're here. If you haven't joined the Soul Speak for Tami group, please, with animals, please do. We'd love to have you there. It's a wonderful group, and the more the merrier. So until next time, let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much.
You've been enjoying Tami's Soul Speak featuring animal intuitive and medium Tami Hendricks.